You're listening to the #1 podcast for nonprofit leaders, getting your nonprofit fully funded. This is the Fundraising Masterminds Podcast.
For me, I hated doing the banquets. I hated it. I always took like a week off after. It was like,
it's like a necessary evil.
It was absolutely a necessary evil. And, my boss will watch this video and he'll remember some phone calls that he and I have had, or it's just like, I don't want to be the dancing monkey anymore. I'm so tired of it. And it's just exhausting. And it's the same people that are showing up every year. There's no new blood coming to it. And, we could have probably just invited them to write a check and they would have. But this whole song and dance, it was so exhausting. Forecasting for this next year, and he saw that the number was a lot higher than what he was expecting. He said, what are you really thinking that you're going to do on this? Because by now he knew that I was in this class. And I said, I'm going to do 100,000. And he was like, no, yes, let's go. But what do you think you're really going to do? I was like, well, I'm going to put in 50. It was just really awesome to be able to come back to him and say, hey, look at how this worked out.
So you guys ended up coming in at 119,000.
After the dust settled, yep.
Blew past that 100,000 by another 20.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm sure your boss was pretty happy with that.
Really great.
Welcome back to another episode here at the Fundraising Masterminds Podcast. We're super excited to have you with us today. I'm your host, Jason Galasinski, and with me, my co-host, Jim Dempsey.
Hi, Jason.
How are you today, Jim?
It's great. I love April. As flowers start to bloom, it's a great part of the year.
Yeah. We're in the second episode of a 5-part series called The $10 Million Story. And really the inspiration came from this of all our classmates that went through the Perfect Vision Dinner in 2024. There was about 100 plus that went through. And Jim, when we totaled up everything, we found that it added up to about $10 million. Mm-hmm. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I was blown away. All that money going towards the kingdom.
Yeah.
We're
that's super excited.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be super fun to have, 5 people from the Perfect Vision Dinner program join us on the episodes and to talk about who they are, what they're doing, and what their experience was of the Perfect Vision Dinner.
Yeah.
So last week we had someone from the Gospel Rescue Mission. This week we have someone joining us from Young Life.
Yeah.
Next week we're going to be doing someone from CEF, and then we're going to have someone from Christian schools, and then finally we're going to end with someone from a maternity home.
Right.
Well, before we bring on our special guest today from Young Life, I thought it'd be great if we could watch a 3-minute video just so we could learn about what Young Life is all about.
Yeah, I think that's great. Let's do it.
What can the Lord do over the course of 80 years? He can inspire a woman named Clara Frazier to pray for lost teenagers in the small town of Gainesville, Texas. He can answer her prayer by raising up a man, Jim Rayburn, and giving him a big dream of introducing kids to the Savior. He can rally hundreds of thousands of caring adults and send some out into the world of young people, place in others the desire to pray, and supply still others with the means to support this sacred calling. Over 80 years, he can draw millions of kids to himself. Every kind of kid. Kids in the suburbs, kids in the city, kids with disabilities, kids with babies, kids without homes. From every corner of the globe, Gainesville, Paris, Nairobi, Hong Kong, Bogota. He can do this through the selfless love of men and women entering the world of kids, consistently taking the long road, day after day, week after week, month after month, going, meeting, listening, and caring, building bridges of trust which produce relationships kids long for every day. It's because of these friendships that we can introduce them to Jesus Christ. Over 80 years, He can provide us a platform where we share about His love, a time of fun and song where a faithful friend stands up and with Bible in hand explains the amazing love story in terms kids can understand. It's a party with a purpose, and everyone's invited. Over 80 years, he can secure dozens of sacred places around the world where kids can experience his presence. Places of beauty, places of hospitality, places of adventure, places of laughter, places of healing, places of transformation. Over 80 years, he can equip his people to help adolescents grow deeper in their faith. People who know the Word and teach it. People who pray for them and with them. People who serve and call their young friends into service alongside them. People who point them to the larger body of Christ, where they'll walk with him for the rest of their lives. What can the Lord do over the course of the next 80 years? If he is gracious enough to allow us 8 more decades of ministry, then he can take us further than we've ever thought possible, leading us into more neighborhoods and colleges and bases and cities and countries, raising up more laborers who embody the communities they're serving, beginning more work with hurting and lonely kids, enabling us to help them go even deeper as disciples. Thank you, Lord, for what you have accomplished over the last 80 years. We still believe that, by your hand, the best young life work has yet to be done.
Well, joining us from the Southeast Texas area is Chris Iwasko. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good, Chris. Thanks.
Glad to be here.
Yep.
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into ministry and what kind of got you started with Young Life?
Yeah, so this story is going to take about 3 hours. So
Oh, that's awesome. We've got all the
hope
time.
your listeners are ready for this.
Yeah, we're ready.
No, I've always known that being in ministry in some capacity was a call in my life. And from a pretty young age, knew that it was going to be young people, youth. Mm-hmm. And through a series of events, the Lord just kind of made that super obvious which direction it was going to go. And I was a part of Young Life as a club kid, what we call them.
I was going to ask
in
you
high
if you were.
school.
Yeah, okay.
Got to serve as a volunteer leader in college. Took a little bit of a hiatus in the post-college and early career life, but then just through a series of events, the doors opened up and got an opportunity to come back on as a volunteer leader as an adult. But then some other doors opened to come on staff, and I've been in this capacity as an area director for 7 years.
Wow!
And what's really awesome is that I'm doing ministry at the school that I was a club kid at, and so just being back in my own hometown.
Great.
Yeah, so super honored to carry that role in my own hometown. So
Wow, boy. Yeah, you seen some of those teachers that you knew?
Some
of them
that
still there?
list is getting smaller and
Yeah,
smaller.
I can
But
imagine.
when I first moved back, my English teacher was still there, and that was a really and that actually is a part of the story. Is she'd been the one who assigned me to do this particular book, The Catcher in the Rye, as my research paper.
Yeah,
and come to find out, the Lord used that story to put it in my heart that there are kids out there that are getting lost in life, and somebody needs to step up and recognize that and do something about it. And so as a junior in high school, this particular English teacher didn't realize, I don't think, that she was setting me on a course for the rest of my life.
That's great. That is great.
One of the things that we often say in this podcast is a lot of times people get into director roles, and it's not like you decided in high school, like, hey, I'm going to be the executive director of a nonprofit, right? So what was the point in which things started to align with you, where you realized, I think I want to do this full time?
It really became a prayer. Lord, shut this down if this is not of you. And I had a background in restaurant management before I got involved with ministry, and I thought I was going to open up a coffee shop and kind of do this thing, and then just I thought I was going to be a teacher, and just through a series of just like very real, obvious, like, if this is not God, this is beyond coincidence. Wow. And just having that humility to be able to say, Lord, what are you calling me into? And him just through mentors and some pastors in my life, just saying, you need to wait. Just we don't know what it is, but you just need to wait. And then, like I said, some doors opened up for this, and I'm so thankful because it's been amazing.
Wow, that's great. Well, Chris, I'm going to lob you a little bit of a softball. Why is it important to reach young people with the gospel?
Oh, man,
why?
So statistically, the hearts of a young person are going to be more open than they are as an adult. I don't know if it's a joke or not, but it's more expensive to fix an adult than it is to maybe set a kid on a path at a young age.
Right.
So I just know that there's a lot of pitfalls in life that a young person can be spared from.
Oh yeah,
there are wounds that the Lord will use in our story, and it's a part of the testimony. You've got scars, and the Lord uses those. But man, if I can watch somebody else touch it and say it's hot, and go, okay, I don't need to do that because I learned your lesson.
Right.
I know that the Lord cares tremendously for young people.
Yeah.
He talks about that several times throughout the Gospels of his heart for young people. And a lot of the disciples, there's some research out there that talks about how a lot of the disciples were probably not old men with beards. They were probably young people.
Yeah, that's
and so
right.
he's even maybe the first youth pastor.
Yeah. That's right.
No,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. There's something about as we get older, we get more cynical and skeptical and just, just hard and our hearts get harder. And so it's great to get
one of the things
young.
that I love about Young Life is just the camps that you guys do. Those camps look so fun. I see those videos. I'm like, can I go there? Do they have adult camps like that?
Boy.
Spoiler alert, they do.
Well, I'll tell you one of the, I think I told you this, Chris, but one of the best videos I saw at Young Life was where it was a giving testimony at one of our dinners. And this man said, I've had a lot of wealth over the years. I bought planes. I've bought, expensive cars. I've bought expensive properties. And he said, I bought a Young Life camp one time. And he said, if I had to redo my whole life again, that plane is sitting in a graveyard, essentially. Right. That car has been in a wrecking area. I'd buy 2 other Young Life camps because it made such a difference in eternity.
Yeah, we used basically that premise for our end of year giving campaign was about planned obsolescence. Like so much of our technology and what we're going to buy is just going to end up in a landfill.
Right.
But as believers, there's a responsibility on us to steward our money, and organizations like Young Life, and we're not the only player in the game, but organizations like Young Life that are inviting people to partner with us to help us get kids into a place and a context where they can hear the gospel without the distractions of whether it be family drama or just classroom drama or now social media and the world that kids are living on online. So our camp spaces they're holy ground where so many people are going to be able to look back and say, my salvation story started on a camp property.
Yeah. Well, and I think programs like Capernaum, a genius. 100%. What an amazing space that you guys are in that a lot of ministries are not even in. So that's so neat.
Indeed.
I love it.
Chris, what would you say is kind of the number one issue that young people are struggling with? Have you seen a change even in the 7 years that you've been working with them?
Absolutely. Even in a very microcosm, one grade graduated off, and then the next grade in was oh, this is a whole different audience. So I'm talking COVID had something to do with that, but kids are far more easily distracted. And so having their attention span is a challenge. So some of the classic, things that you might do in a club talk when we're presenting the gospel or whatever, we have to be real punchy. You don't have the currency of attention span anymore. So your club talks are going to be a little bit different.
So the felt boards don't work the way they used to.
Hey, you know what? I'd be interested to try it out though. Maybe.
Sure.
So we find that they're far more distracted. They're dealing with a world, a window to the world on social media that previous generations have not had to experience. Just the weight of all of the evil in the world can weigh you down.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's a lot of depression and fear and worry that previous generations haven't had to carry because they just weren't aware of it.
Yeah.
And so
I don't think God intended us to know everything that was going on in the world. If he did, he would have created us with Wi-Fi connections, right?
I think he told Adam and Eve about avoiding knowing all the things.
Yeah, exactly. But Chris, do you see, and again, of course, we're moving out now. It's interesting to think, moving out of the Z generation and moving to the Alpha generation now, which is probably a lot maybe where you're working. But do you see hope though in these next generations?
Absolutely.
I think there's too many people who have written off, I know
this
Z
generation
for sure.
is so, because of the double-edged sword, right, of the social media world. There's so much nonsense and junk that can distract them or pull them off point. But it's also they're the most connected. They can fire off movements like you wouldn't believe, and they have the capacity of doing that. We're not digital natives. We have to learn these new techniques and these they are born almost. It seems like with the ability to navigate social media so well. I mean, my son's almost 4, but he's already learning how to do stuff on my phone.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how you're so good with this so fast.
Absolutely.
And, my middle daughter is already talking to her audience. It's like, you don't even have a device, but they just know how to do the thing.
Yeah. It used to be, kids would come out of school wanting to be titans of industry. Now they want to be content creators.
Social media influencers.
Exactly.
It's wild. That's a funny, scary reality.
Yeah, right.
But so they can mobilize so well, and they care.
Yeah.
They have a deep, big heart for opportunities to improve people's lives. They're easy to motivate, and so don't bag too much on this generation and the generation coming. They've got a lot to offer. It might be different than maybe what we were good at in the earlier generations.
Right. We have to adapt.
Yeah, I love it. Yep. I love it. Yeah, one of the things Crew has seen is that it used to be we would have to expose 10 for one to come to Christ. Nowadays, we're starting to see a 1-to-3 ratio. That's how fast things have changed, that the openness to the gospel is significantly better than it was.
Some of that has to do with just time away from maybe the Enlightenment, not to get too philosophical, but where it was very humanistic. And I think they're wise and they recognize that, okay, that's kind of not working so well.
Right.
Still haven't solved world hunger, still haven't, and so maybe and I noticed that they are far more open to talking about the Spirit and spiritual world. And, makes for some really good conversations.
Oh, that's so
I've noticed
neat.
that they're a lot more into real relationships. Like they don't trust corporations. My parents were all about corporations. And all about trusting, the big man.
Even the church, it was just implicit. It was always trusted the church, and now there's skepticism.
Yeah.
We have in youth ministry have the trope of, hey, next week invite your friends. Make sure you're reaching out and inviting your friends.
Right.
And I had this eureka moment one day because I was noticing that my attendance numbers really weren't changing. And of course, there's a big, with Young Life is we go to them instead of just inviting them to come to us. But there's a partnership where you're asking them to reach out to their classmates and their teammates, whatever. And it was almost a eureka moment because I'm saying, hey, Jack, why aren't you bringing your friends? And he's like, she's here, he's here, we're here.
Right.
Who else did you want me to invite? And I'm like, I need to not use the word friend anymore. I need to do the word classmate or teammate.
Yeah.
Because they do run in very far small, a lot of that because of circles. You can have all of these superficial friends, on your social media feeds, but the genuine, real friends, they crave that, and that's going to be in a smaller group.
Well, Chris, I would love to pivot to kind of more of a development topic now. Would love to hear a bit more about, as you joined Young Life 7 years ago, you said you came from a restaurant background, right? So where were you at in terms of fundraising? Where were you at in terms of development? What were some of the things that you were doing that was working, that wasn't working? Share, just kind of give us a temperature reading of kind of where you were at.
You were doing something. You had the prior dinner prior to doing this model. You raised $18,000. So that's not that you didn't raise something.
Right.
So you were doing something.
It's in the DNA of Young Life to in our development, overall funding model that we're going to do a dinner. We're going to do a banquet, and different areas are more successful with that. And I think some of that was really driven on personality, and you get the right combination of a committee member who's really good at doing parties, and maybe some really networked members in your community who are good at just kind of saying, hey, we're going to rope these people in to come to this.
Did you guys call it a roundup or something?
So we kind of experimented with some things. COVID shut us down for that particular year. We didn't have a banquet at all that year. The previous year, so it would have been 19, was good. It was as good as any of the ones that I'd been a part of. I think our high water mark for our area was about 40,000.
Oh, okay.
If our historians were accurate. And so we didn't have one in 19 or in 20. And then 21, we tried to do this thing and it just really didn't work. We were trying to be sensitive to social distancing and how do we do this still, but still know that we've got to raise money.
Right.
And it didn't go so well. Then 2022, we said, hey, let's try this different thing. We called it the Roundup, and we're trying to just have a good time. Let's take the stuffiness out of it, and let's just have a good time. It was real casual, and we did all the things that I would learn in the future not to do. We did some of those things? We did the raffles, and we did the auctions, and we had all of we're going to sell this, we're going to sell that, and we're going to get sponsors, and we're going to get underwriters. Yeah. I mean, literally the things that you guys in class 1 will say, okay, if you're doing those things, stop. And so that was really hard to hear. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Well, it to y'all's point, it did not not. It did not move the needle. In fact, actually, we raised some of the least amount that we'd ever raised in one of our banquets, and so we'd kind of hit. I don't know if this is where you're wanting to go to, but we kind of hit a place where we were in trouble.
Yeah.
We were in deficit. We were in reduced pay at that point, and we ended up actually having to do a layoff, and it gutted me. It absolutely gutted our committee.
I remember one of our first calls. You were dealing with that, and you were really struggling.
Yeah. And
Jason, I'd love to take a step back though. How did you hear about Fundraising Mastermind? What were the first things?
I think it was on Instagram, coming across a short reel or something like that, and it definitely was too good to be true kind of a thing, and snake oil salesman and all that kind of stuff.
He's Anna's best friend. Anna loves Chris Iwasko. She put that name on her desk.
That's her vision for Instagram working.
It worked for me. But that then got me interested enough to go to YouTube, watching the longer, full episodes,
right?
Which then learning that there's actually a podcast, and so subscribing to Apple's podcast, and then listening to some archived episodes, and then just finally is like, okay, these guys seem to really know what they're talking about, so let's at least have that conversation. You and I hopped on the phone.
What was the thing that kind of convinced you that we knew what we were talking about?
Oh gosh,
what was the thing that kind of got you to action, going from that skepticism to like, okay.
Well, the reference check that you gave me was finally that last thing that moved us over. Correct.
What do you mean by that?
You'd provided me with a couple of people to reach out to.
Oh, the references. Yes.
Yeah, and so having a conversation, I don't remember his name, unfortunately, but he just was able to sing your praises and said, it was real. We did truly raise this much money, and we followed their system, and it absolutely worked. And so we that for me was that final confirmation that I needed. But what was it that caught my attention? I think it was just the authority that you guys were speaking with, and I could tell from both of you that you knew what you were talking about. And then obviously Campus Crew is a tremendously respected organization, and for you to have been a part of it for that long, it's like, look, this is veteran tips. This isn't y'all aren't making it up on the fly,
right?
Yeah.
You were talking about the different events that you were trying, but were you like, now you're in the winner circle,
correct,
and you're learning about how to keep and how to build relationships. Were you doing anything from a development perspective before that was not working or working?
I loved the phrase that y'all introduced us to, the not just fundraising, it's friendraising.
Oh yeah, right.
And that just really was like an eye-opening thing, and not to bag on any of the training that I get from Young Life, because we do have training, and we are taught how to do some things, but just something that just wasn't connecting for me.
Right.
And so having the system, because I picked up pretty quickly on that the Vision Dinner is going to be kind of the opening to a bigger world,
right,
of donor development, of relationship management, and areas where I was weak. They hire a lot of us on because we're really good with kids, and it's almost like you got to learn how to do the development side of things,
right,
and if you don't, I don't know, if you don't have the aptitude for it or something, it just never really clicked for me. I hated doing the banquets. I hated it. I always took like a week off after. It was like,
right.
It's like,
it's like a necessary evil.
It was absolutely a necessary evil. And, my boss will watch this video and he'll remember some phone calls that he and I have had, or it's just like, I don't want to be the dancing monkey anymore. I'm so tired of it. And it's just exhausting. And it's the same people that are showing up every year. There's no new blood coming to it. And, we could have probably just invited them to write a check, and they would have. But this whole song and dance, it was so exhausting.
So now that you've been on the other side and you've done the Perfect Vision Dinner, like, do you feel that way about dinners now? Or do you feel more
and so much
energetic?
of it is because the way that you guys teach us to develop a team. And again, it's not real rocket surgery that's taking place here. It definitely makes a ton of sense, but it just wasn't happening.
Right.
And it wasn't steps that we were taking. And so the accountability that the model that the class provides was probably the most valuable part for me. That we started 20 something weeks before the event, and over the times where we're going to summer camps, I'm still needing to peel away to hop on a Zoom call with you guys or have a homework assignment to do. It took so much of the pressure off of it by stretching out that timeline. So it didn't feel like it was all just barreling down on me.
Young Life is like Crew. You're waiting till the very last minute. You're starting to think about it about 6 weeks out.
Exactly, and that's like just too late. It's just too late.
Yeah, it kills you.
I mean, you're guilting people to show up because it's like.
So I'd love to hear in your own words, like, how would you describe the Perfect Vision Dinner mentorship program to someone who's never heard it before? What is it exactly?
So it's going to be a 22 week class where you're going to have an opportunity to do your own homework, watching some videos and using the workbook. But then once a week, we're joining together as a cohort with you guys and other classmates. And there's that built-in piece of accountability of, hey, did you do these checkpoints? Are you following through? And you guys did a great job of asking the same questions every single week. For those that might have lost something, fell off the radar or whatever, bring it back up to the top. Have you done that yet? No, you need to do it. And then there was a tremendous amount of practical coaching that came with that. How to negotiate contracts with the location or with the vendors for your food or for decorate, So learning how to do those kinds of things that, again, if you don't know how to do it, you just kind of go in like a lamb to the lions. I just need a meal provider. So, but knowing how to go in and ask for this size cut of that kind of meat, those tips and whatever, I felt armed, so armed to go into those conversations. And then to take the pressure off of it from being something that you're kind of throwing together last minute and having that stretched out over the course of that time. I went into that night different than I had done any other event. Great. I was cool as a cucumber because, hey, we'd done all the things. And then the Lord did the rest. The room was full.
That's right. Yeah.
And people were already, just as they were walking in, just going, wow, this looks really great. And I want to share this feather for y'all's cap. I've had a particular committee member who's been to pretty much every single banquet in the 25 years that our area's existed. And she said this was the best one that we've ever had.
That's so good.
And that meant a lot because I know she knew what she was talking about.
Well, Chris, you were so good too. We've got an app for our community as well. You were so good about being out there and asking questions. And
asking questions and then us interacting together, answering our own questions with each other.
That iron sharpening iron. Yeah, absolutely. Now tell me how you will go into the next year more confident. We talked about $118,000. That's just the beginning. I think you're just scratching the surface. I can see 150, 200, 250. I see all those in your future.
A lot of growth opportunity. One of it is we were able to identify who the real movers and shakers in our table hosts were, and go into one particular one. I won't say her name out loud, but she did amazing. She had 3 tables.
Oh, wow.
And so, hey, from those 3 tables worth of attendance, who should be a table host? And so there's that multiplication factor. And so going in already, that name storming class is going to be even easier because we're starting not from zero. We're starting from 25 almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And knowing who did good and who didn't do so good. And then going into again, knowing what venue to go to. I don't have to spend so much time looking at different venues or what caterer, because our area is small. I don't have kind of the hotel situations that some do. So we'll have to do outside catering for our next one as well. And I already know who to talk to, and we have that relationship built. So many things are just going to move faster.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And not starting in the summer or whenever the class would start, but now we're already talking about it now. We're zeroing in our dates.
Yeah, that first year, it's just like you're trying to take a drink of water from a fire hydrant, and it's just overwhelmed. And what we see in the second and third year is just building from that, and you have a base to build on. You got a solid
Well, that's why I'm so excited about the Winner's Circle, because it's like we're just taking the foundation and raising the floor every year. So
right.
And Chris, you've joined the Winner's Circle. So
I am.
You get everything done this month?
Most of it. Most of it. Well, yeah. You don't want my... we did a really big Christmas thank you with that list. Yeah. And so to go back in and touch point again, I did a little here and there, but we'd already done actually that exercise.
But what I love about the Winner's Circle is we've stretched it out over a 3-year period, right? So we're taking your perfect vision dinner new partners that you got, and we're starting to build relationships with them in the first year of the Winner's Circle. That's really the focus. And in the second year, we're going to focus on major partners. So it's like, now that we've got this base and you've started building relationships, and then we can start identifying who in these people are major partners and how can we lift them to higher levels. And there's just so much good stuff coming. The dinner is really just the beginning, and it's like, I talk to so many people on the phone who just kind of think, they just have this kind of, it's too good to be true mindset. Or like, I can't believe that these guys would raise $100,000 in a first event, and it's like, that's just the beginning. I don't know how I could say it to you, you know, like I try so hard to like show examples and record videos, and everyone just thinks, oh, this is just staged or whatever. But it's like, no, it's actually real.
Yeah.
There's a real person here. His name is Chris.
Yeah.
And he went through the program.
Yeah. And for those of our listeners who don't know what the Winner Circle is, the Winner Circle is an exclusive group that's for our graduates of the Perfect Vision Dinner Mentoring Program who succeed and achieve at least the minimum of 100,000. And it's by invitation only. And it's for those individuals who are willing and want to take development seriously and take it to the next level. And Chris, I'm so proud of you because you were one of those individuals who qualified and got the invitation and accepted it. And now you got the opportunity to build on that foundation that you laid the first year.
Yeah, super excited to build this, and you know, however long I'm in this role, but to be able to, you know, I'm not saying, boss, I'm not quitting, but just that it's better than when we got it, right? You know, and
that's
to
right.
be able to have that kind of relationship with these, because it's a kind of a small community, but to say, hey, we take this seriously, and serious enough for us to go through these classes and go through this training and mentorship program.
Yeah, well, we always talk about wanting to be the best dinner in your city and in your area, and I think you're a good way down the road to be in that for your dinner. So that's neat. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Chris, we set out a goal for you to raise $100,000.
Yeah.
I want you to tell our audience kind of what you thought was actually realistic when you...
Which you may have been happy with.
What I've been happy with. Well, with 40,000 being what we could remember being the highest that we'd ever raised in one of these, I was hopeful, and I put in our budget that we would raise 50. So I'd kind of built my whole year out.
I believe you said, whatever, dude, we're going for 50.
Yeah, whatever.
What you thought.
Probably exactly how I felt too. Because my boss was asking, you know, hey, so what are we thinking for this event? And I told him, did
you tell him that we were going for 100, or did you say?
I'm trying to remember exactly how that conversation went, but there was a point where he said, or he found that I was in the class, because I didn't like go through. I don't know if that's a story that worth telling, how I got the money to do the class.
That is a really interesting story. Yeah. We'll circle back to that.
That's important because that's a lot of people do struggle.
You know, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that. Yeah.
So I didn't go through the Young Life. I didn't swipe the card for the class, and so he didn't know that I was going through the class. I wanted to kind of play this one close to my chest and just, man, if this doesn't go right, this is on me.
If you don't,
And so not all of my committee members knew that we were doing this, and so I'd held on to that for that long. So he was asking how I was doing with my budget and forecasting for this next year, and he saw that the number was a lot higher than what he was expecting. He said, "What are you really thinking that you're going to do on this?" Because by now he knew that I was in this class, and I said, "I'm going to do 100,000." And he was like, "No, yes, let's go, but what do you think you're really going to do?" I was like, "Well, I'm going to put in 50," and then it was just really awesome to be able to come back to him and say, "Hey, look at how this worked out."
I'm glad he supported you.
Oh yeah, it was great. That just didn't.
Because there's leaders who will knock. I hate to say knock their people down. And no, come on, Chris. Yeah, what's reality? Yeah.
So you guys ended up coming in at 119,000
after the dust settled. Yep.
Wow, amazing. So blew past that 100,000 by another 20.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm sure your boss was pretty happy with that one.
Because we were already playing from behind, being in deficit going into the dinner. And so we were able to close that gap, end our fiscal year ahead, but then start the new quarter 2 months ahead. And in Young Life World, we talk about being months ahead. Yeah. And so we were 2 months ahead, just boom. And, we're not sitting on money in our account just so that we can have stockpiles of cash. Like, this is the Lord's money. People invested this money into do kingdom work. And so we are so excited because we're already saying, okay, not only did we close that gap financially from last year's downfall, but we're also already starting new ministry to middle school kids in our area. And that was one of our accelerators. We're actively in conversation with some people to take the lead for one of our new schools that we want to give a whole staff person to that. And we had a new gift that came in, an attendant at the banquet, at the vision dinner, say, hey, we heard you guys talking about your camp costs and transportation being so high. We want to write that check to cover the cost of the bus. And so we could even maybe add, more to that number if you wanted to, but it's just the conversations that have come out and the tutelage that you guys gave us on how to have those conversations and how to present what the Lord is calling us to do.
Well, that's music to my ears, Chris, because I'm all about dreaming big dreams, and the fact that this now opens the door for you to be able to, hire coordinators and other individuals. I mean, people taking it to the next level. That's just so good. Yeah, getting into new schools.
Yeah. Well, let's circle back to that story because so many people are listening to this podcast and they are convinced that the Perfect Vision Dinner, they want to try it, but it's like, well, I don't have the money to even start. And I remember when we did that initial call, that's kind of where you were at.
That's where we were at. Playing from behind as far as financially, I did not have that money in my account.
How do you do a vision dinner with no money?
Exactly. Yeah. What do you do? I have some really phenomenal donor partners that have been with me for the entire time, and they give an annual gift that came out to be about the same amount as the cost of the class. And so I went to them privately and had already done, my homework and presented the case and said, would you guys consider doing this differently? I know it's a deviation.
It's an investment.
It is
really.
absolutely an investment.
Yeah.
And I'm asked him and his wife to invest in my education in this, that this is seed money.
In the future
you
growth.
and I had talked already about it and saying, hey, what kind of multiplier to expect, and what investor would not be excited by that kind of a multiplier. Mm-hmm. And so 10 to 1. And so he took some time to pray and talk to his wife about it and came back and said, hey, if that's how you want to use this gift, we were going to give it to you anyway, whether it's here, just go into your, your budget or going into this class. And so, I did not, like I said, I did not use, my budget to cover the cost, but, indirectly I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so maybe
That's
finding, if looking in your books and seeing if you've got that person that gives that kind of an amount or maybe compositing that together with a couple people, but, that's how the Lord opened that door.
Did you circle back to him? I'd be curious.
Immediately.
Just to say,
they were attending, they sat at my table and, I get to, see them pretty regularly, and
he had a really big smile on his face.
Proud.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
I
love that.
Very excited to see. He's super close, and we get to talk quite a bit and talk shop quite a bit. He's been in my life for a very long time, and so to see the highs and the lows, and knowing what we were going through with our previous just year and the financial downfalls that we were experiencing and whatnot, and to see things come out on the other side.
So it's safe to say his gift literally turned around your
100%.
Ministry efforts. Wow. That's neat as an investor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say that. Wow. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, what Christian business person or entrepreneur or dentist or just a major partner, right? What kind of person would not want their money to make
presented with the right
tenfold?
Yeah.
Like, not only did it bring in tenfold, but just think of all the partners it brought in. Think of all the ministry. It was like just a little seed, just a teeny little seed that went into the ground, and now you have this huge tree coming out.
Yeah, for the Young Life audience that's out there, we live and die off of our monthly donor base, and the one-time gift is awesome. That injection of cash, but the monthly partner is such a huge and critical part. We doubled our monthly partners as a result of the dinner.
Well, for your audience, talk about that, because we do emphasize that. A lot of dinners just emphasize, your gift tonight. Yeah. But our model, because of Crew, FCA, Young Life, other organizations, we emphasize the monthly a lot. Right. Talk about that. And
so the thing that moved the needle the most was that we presented it in the context of the matching challenge. And so a gift of, was it $100 a month or $1,200 one time? Yeah. And then we had also presented the case that monthly gift is, I think it was said at least twice in our program, is a lifeblood for us. Yes. And people heard that. And they said, okay, we can not only be a part of answering their need for that monthly gift, but we can also do it at the level that's going to meet the match. Yes. And so, we saw a lot of $100 monthlies, which was just, so amazing. Yeah.
And our giving opportunities, we make those divisible, evenly divisible by 12. So
little subtle,
ways to encourage
geniuses.
That. Yeah.
And for the match, I want to share that story too.
Please.
You guys teach us to go and find this match amount that we can present the night of. And we had an individual in the audience who saw that on the screen, and he wrote the check to match that in just one person. Made the match.
And what was your match?
23,000.
23,000.
And so and the first thing I thought of when I'm going through and reconciling the numbers is like, what if I would have hunted a little bit more? Would he have written 25? Would he have done 30
or whatever?
And so why limit myself going forward? So another thing for next year in the sophomore year of doing this is, hey, how big can we actually get this thing?
That's right.
Well, it's so easy when you get into the stinking thinking and the scarcity mindset. It's so easy to just think like, if I could only just get 300 people to give me $50, and we think in terms of like our circumstances. We don't realize that there's people out there that can write $100,000 check. Like that just seems like so unrealistic.
I'm not that guy.
No. And but they are out there, and business owners operate on a whole nother wavelength. They're dealing with millions of dollars, and their payroll is like $25,000-$50,000 a month. And they're on a different wavelength. And so
we're so used to asking them for loose change though. Right. And when they finally hear a big challenge, it's like, oh, I can do that. 23,000, sure, I can do that. And that kind of blows us away because we're, as ministry, we're so used to, well, please give us a couple dimes and nickels and everything else.
And I love the way that you guys taught us on our script writing for the different appeals. That we're presenting opportunity now, and join in. Water is good.
Right. Now we
and
need
it was not
you,
the, exactly
make you feel guilty.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Chris, it's been really good to just reminisce about your success story. And I know that you're just one out of 100 different people that went through the program last year, but there's 100 other stories like this. We could probably do stories like this over and over and over. We'd probably bore our audience to death.
Well, I want to hear Chris. I want Chris coming back sometime in 2026 next year at this time and talk about, how much he raised and that he was 150 or 200, or I can't believe I was ever at that. So that's neat.
Well, we've been talking a lot about the Perfect Vision Dinner mentorship program. And if you've been listening to this and you're kind of thinking, I think it's time for me to give this a try. We've got a QR code on the screen that you can scan. Go ahead and scan that with your phone, or you can click the link in the description. That'll take you to our website. And on the website, we've got all laid out for you, how much it costs. We've got it laid out what you get. Everything's there. We're not hiding anything. There's no sneaky sales pitch or anything like that. And we've got a lot of testimonies on there of people just like Chris. I think Chris is even on there with his testimony that we took that video literally like a few days after his dinner. So it was pretty cool. And, if you are interested in the Perfect Vision Dinner mentorship program, this is something we do twice a year. So we do one in the spring, one class in the spring to work towards the fall. And we do another one in the fall to work towards the spring. So you do have to apply. It's not something that you can just go in and like add to your cart and, check it out and join. You do have to fill out the application, and then one of our team members will get in touch with you. We would like to get to know you because we're always about relationships,
Absolutely.
Right? So we want to build that friendship with you and that relationship, get to know your ministry, see if it's a good fit. And really, we want to see if you're ready for something like the Perfect Vision Dinner mentorship program. Believe it or not, it's not for everybody. It is intense and it does require commitment. So we just want to make sure that you're ready for it. But get your application in and we'll get the ball rolling. We'll have a conversation. So go ahead and get started. We got enrollment ends in 3 weeks. So in the next 3 weeks, we're going to be closing up the application and we're going to be starting the next program. So don't miss out. This could be a life-changing moment for you. Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely subscribe because we've got 3 more episodes coming of great stories like Chris. Next week, we're going to be hearing from Warren Bird. He is a director from CEF in Dallas, Texas.
Child Evangelism Fellowship.
It's going to be really great to have him on. But Chris, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. How can people learn about Young Life and get in touch with your particular organization?
Jason, I am all about even numbers. I'm not a big fan of ending with 119. I'd love for our audience that maybe wants to help put Chris over the top to at least 120.
That would be awesome.
I think that would be neat. I think Chris might enjoy that as well too.
Yeah.
So how do we get?
The easiest way is probably Instagram. Mid-County YL is our handle, and I'm the one that runs that page. So you'll be talking to me, and I would love to.
You have a website that people can check out?
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but midcounty.younglife.org.
Midcounty.younglife.org.
And you got a give button up there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Well, let's see if we can get Chris up to 120.
At least 120. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah. Put him over the top.
Yeah.
I thought about taking a collection here in the studio beforehand, but I think it'd be better for our
Well,
audience.
shameless plug then real quick while I've got the opportunity.
do
We're
that
raising for
shameless
camp
plug?
scholarships. So
Ooh.
right now money
Yeah.
that we're gaining is going toward helping kids go to those camps that we were talking
How
about
many
earlier.
do you want to send this year?
We've got spots for 40 at our high school outreach camp. I've got 10 spots for our discipleship camp. Then I've got 8 spots for our middle school camp.
I love it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Chris. Yep.
Well, if you want to invest in young people, definitely check out Chris on Instagram or go to his website. Definitely check out Young Life. The cool thing about Young Life is it's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So we're not just
80
talking
countries
about
or maybe even 100 countries, every state in the union, though.
every state in the union.
80 years. Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us on today's episode. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Take care.